Another thing we did, and this is again a blessing, a couple of you folks with your gifting, you gave us gift cards to share with people, and also a couple of us donated some money. And so we went and broke up, $50 bills into a bunch of envelopes, and several of us went to certain places around the area here, Cottonwood, and gifted people. And it was really, really beautiful. I can't get into all that, but all of our folks that did that have a lot of really amazing stories, because they were asked, Intuit, who to go to, and so they did. And a lot of great stories. People just, the shock and the, the wow factor, to being gifted something. People that were said, somebody said, I just lost 4 family members this year. Another person, I just lost my brother, and all of these amazing scenarios right there, and it's opened up heart to heart. You're bridging and gifting people things, which is what Christmas is about. People think it's about gifts, Christmas presents, but it's spelled different. It's Christmas presents, the presence of God, and that's what it's really about. The rest is beautiful and it's symbolic of all kinds of cool things, but it's about bringing presents, not just presents, gifts. And there was an interesting thing, because I haven't told the crew that was with me, but I just said, I'll wait outside and let them kind of do all that. But there was a point where I went and was standing outside, and I didn't have the gift cards. I just had cash myself. So I opened my thing and, took out $50 or whatever. And there was this lady, and I felt called. I thought, I'm hearing the calling to gift her. So I kind of walked over, but she finished what she was out doing, water containers, outside the stores, filling up water. She fills up water, and and as I start to approach, she doesn't see me, but she turns and leaves. And I thought, that's strange. I was getting guidance, but yet she left. So I kind of waited for the folks to come out, our gifting folks. And then she came back, and she was doing another. I thought, well, there it is. So it is right that I was guided to go over to her. So I went over to her, and she kind of looked over to me, and I was wearing my coat, long to the ground black coat, and a mask, so I understand, and I think I had my shades on, didn't I? So I probably looked very creepy, but she turned and kind of quickly moved away, and I kind of just stood there and laughed to myself, walked away, and again I was like, well, that's weird, because it felt like she was supposed to, receive. So I went to the opposite end of the front of this store complex, and all of a sudden I hear somebody yell, and I turned and it was her, and I thought, she can't be talking to me, because remember, I creeped her out. So she must be talking to somebody else. So I looked around, waited a moment, and then she walked the rest of the way up to me. I said, hi. She goes, I'm so sorry. A woman over there told me that you wanted to talk to me. Now, there was nobody else there.
Oh, wow.
Now, she goes, a woman told me you had something for me. And I was going, okay, there's no woman over there, but okay. So I was like, wow. And then I said, yeah, well, here, happy holidays. And this woman, the nervousness that made her walk away when I was there, okay, that's her style, that's her temperament, whatever. In other words, she's a nervous person. So here she is standing there, but she came all the way over. Something told her to come and talk to me, right? Past all her nervousness, she comes all the way over to me, talking to this guy, all that stuff. And then she's, this could be weird for somebody, especially that nervous. And I said, oh, well, I just wanted to, give you a gift, happy holidays. And she starts choking up and crying but nervous, because her nervousness is still there, and she doesn't know what to do. I just reached and I touched her hand. I said, it's okay, and to calm her down and so forth. But she started mumbling. There was a woman, and you had some, and why are you, and just around and around and around. And it reminds me of everything we're on this planet for. We hear guidance. It doesn't always seem clear, but it ends up clear, especially when we keep learning to listen. It was clear for me. Then it was clear for her. She manifested some woman telling her, that I had something for her. I should have said, no, I don't. you know. But anyway, and then this person was gifted this, you know, and they didn't expect it. And you could tell what a difference it made. Oh, and here's one more quick thing. So we're driving out of the parking lot, and Judy was there, and a few of you, and we're driving out of the parking lot, and some of them know me. They know Michael gets these spider senses. So we left the parking lot. We drove out of it. I drove down on our way, you know, back this direction, and went a little distance, pulled into the next parking lot, and I can see her looking, "What are you up to?" And she goes, you got something going on, don't you? So I drove in, went to a different store. Never heard of this store, never seen this store. I said, okay, that store, I don't know what it is. She goes, I think it's like a teller type of place. I don't think there's actually people in there. I said, well, go inside, and here's three $50 bills. I think you might need three, but go in and see. She goes in, she comes out. Michael, that was so weird. There were 3 employees. They had nothing to do. Nobody's shopping. They're just standing there twiddling their thumbs. And there were 3. So again, practice listening to the guidance. The guidance becomes clearer, more accurate, more beneficial. Because the whole point of guidance is always creating more win-win scenarios. Christmas every day. So what people look forward to in terms of the Christmas evening talk, a lot of people are watching online. People kind of go, I can't wait till Christmas Eve. I'm going to be as brief as I can with it, but I'm going to go through the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas. Now, it's like with everything, just briefly stated. We can look at things very deeply on this planet or from a shallow place. One is conscious, one is unconscious thinking. And the holiday season, I don't know why more people don't get this and see the beauty and humor of it. The holiday season, you know, from October-ish, you know, the Halloween time, all the way till Epiphany. It's a couple of months just packed with activity, spiritual activity. Why? So that you go into a new year with all your reserves. You're totally charged up. You know, you're not supposed to be dragging into another year with all the little you have left from the last year or the whole life. You're supposed to have hit an oasis, filled up, and boom, here we go. So an overview would be October is where it's like, look, you know what? Do you have any skeletons in the closet? Let's look at them. Nice time for inventory. Once you're done with that, how'd you do? Give thanks for how you did. Give thanks for the skeletons in the closet that you released and said goodbye to, and the ones you can give thanks for, great, give thanks. Then you start moving, obviously, closer and closer to a 3-part holiday. Christmas, which is your standard, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Then comes the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas, which most people don't know about. And then you have Epiphany. And a lot of people don't know about that either. But this is moving towards that 3-part holiday. And then also in that mix, New Year's. So, I mean, it's just beautiful. How could it have been planned any better than that? Skeletons in the closet, clean them out. Give thanks. You receive gifts on Christmas because of the good work you did. Then you do the 12 holy days and nights. You're packing in mysticism. Then, you know, you go into giving thanks. A new year. Here we go into a new year. And Epiphany says, which Epiphany is called an octave holiday. We're going to take everything you just did in all these holidays and take it to another octave, another level. You know, but humans, they're just sitting around. Oh, that was a nice Christmas, wasn't it, honey? Do we have any leftovers? Oh, that would be wonderful. Could we warm that up? And I don't know, you know, humans, it's just, anyway. Okay. So with all this in mind, you just think this would be a no-brainer, but, you know, humans, it's a challenge. So we go into the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas, and just to try to briefly explain this, again, this is followed by Epiphany, but the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas start tomorrow. Why I do this talk, which I can do it another week, is because tomorrow it starts, so it's nice to hear about this today. So it'll begin tomorrow, and it'll run all the way till Epiphany starts the 5th of January. All right? So during the 12 holy days and nights, we're given a chance to magnify our mysticism, our spirituality. Basically, we can step everything up. What happens for the next 12 days, starting tomorrow, every one of those days is going to be synchronized with an astrological sign. Some people, because they're just a little bit, even though they're trying to be, deep, so astrologers and so on, they'll just figure it must start on Aries and go for 12 days. So in other words, you're going to do a microcosm of all the 12 months, all the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 months of the year, but you're going to do them in 12 days. Concentrated into 12 days. But it doesn't go Aries, Taurus, etc., etc., etc. It starts with Virgo because of the virgin birth. Now, if you do it from Aries, that's fine. And if you try to look online for some of this information, everybody's just contradicting one another for whatever reason. It's just from a mystical standpoint, you've got to start with the virgin birth. It really makes sense, and you'll see why. When you start it with the virgin birth, it's kind of interesting because when you get to Aries, it's the 1st of January, the beginning of a year. So this is a way that it actually works in a very deep and multiple leveled kind of a style. So, try this out. If you want to go with standard astrology and go Aries first day, whatever works for you. All right? So I'm going to read a little bit for each of these 12 days. You might look at it like, I'd like to hear my sign, but it's really, we have all 12 signs within us. You're going to go through all 12 days. What you experience for the next 12 days, especially now that you've heard this, it's too late to back out. What you experience for the next 12 days is going to be a microcosm of what you're going to experience for the next 12 months. See, the Ptolemaic calendar, solar calendar, that was developed by, you could say, Alexander the Great's right-hand man, they decided, let's go with a solar year. A lot of cultures were using a lunar year. But when you go with the lunar year, it ends 12 days before the solar calendar ends. So there's this 12 days of pause. What happens? Well, astrologically, vibrationally, energetically, the moon is not there for 12 days to buffer the sun in terms of the calendar year. It's not there to buffer because the moon acts as sort of a buffer. That's why you can't look directly at the sun, but you can see the sun on the moon. So the moon is like the mother. The light of God is too bright for most people's eyes, but you can see God in the mother, the moon. So it's a very great metaphor of that. They call it the man on the moon. It's really the mother. The men, they took over everything. So anyway, so there's this Ptolemaic calendar. It comes to an end. There's 12 days sitting there where there's no lunar calendar. Coincidentally or not, that 12 days is when mystics say the solar rays become intensified because nothing's buffering them, and they hit you more intensely. And what happens is, on a typical day, the sun gives us warmth and light. But during this time, it gives you higher vibration. And it doesn't just shine upon your body, it reaches into your soul. So there's really some intense things happening, and it's going to click through all 12 signs. So let's say you have a bad day on the 3rd day into this. Well, you go Virgo, Libra, it would be Scorpio. So chances are, when that particular month comes around, that's going to be perhaps a challenging month. So, it's advisable to keep a journal so you can kind of know what's coming around at some point or another. All right? So I'm going to read each one, and I don't typically read when I'm up here, but I'm going to do this because some folks are really going to be meticulous about notes, and they want everything on there. All right, so I'm going to start with, and by the way, this to me, this is one of the coolest disciplines or practices we can do each year. And we're going to actually do a 12-month course, 1 day per month. We're going to concentrate on this particular theme each 12, when we're going to do those each 12 months. But we're also going to, do a lot more. There'll be specific teachings, workshops every month. So 1 day a month, we're going to do a workshop for a few hours and also include information about these to take this to another level. So the first holy day and night, that's tomorrow, Virgo. Its keywords, as some of you know, is I analyze. So on this day and night is the first night in our series. Virgo's not actually the first sign of the zodiac, but it fits perfectly because it's commemorating the virgin birth. Virgo's known as the Virgin constellation. It's the sign of the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother. And it's the primary teacher, this Virgoian vibe. It's the primary teacher of female initiates, which is also the female in each of us. She holds pure vision, the Virgoian energy, the vibration, the frequency of the you could call it lords of Virgo, the goddesses of Virgo. Every sign has beings that support their frequency. Like you can imagine angels serving God, there are creative beings that serve each sign of the zodiac. So she holds the pure vision of having a cleansed and rejuvenated earth. Now, I'll just briefly mention that there's an apostle for each of these 12 as well, which I've never shared with you folks during these talks that I've done, but there are. And I'm just going to name a few things about them so you can see the amazing synchronicity. The apostle who correlates with the sign Virgo is Bartholomew. He was known for being honest and having a pure heart. After the ascension of Jesus, he was drawn to the east, so he taught in Armenia, and he also taught in India. Strangely, though, there's a lot of crests or symbols that go with each apostle, and if you look him up, you'll see him carrying a skin, like a hide, on one arm. It's because when he was murdered, as most of the apostles were, he was skinned alive. Now, I'm not trying to gross you out, but what I'm going to say is the skin and the intestines are formed in the embryo in the first trimester. Those are two key things being developed. So skin and the intestines are an important part for this particular sign of the zodiac. So on that note, during this particular auspicious day, night, and then month after we get this launched here, I advise that people beware of issues related to that part of their body, the skin, their intestines, digestive system, and so on. So during this particular time, accept your original innocence. So especially on the first day, tomorrow, focus each day for 12 days on what I'm describing here so it carries into the month. But accept your original innocence rather than everybody's opinions of you. I mean, just put some consciousness into this. Today, I'm starting over. They said this about me. I said this and that about. Stop. How do I get back to my original innocence? Also, to birth the inner God goddess, we must never lose our sense of humility. Even though, Jesus was the Prince of Peace, he was born in a stable. It was actually a cave. But remember that only the divine is perfect. Trying too hard, Virgoians, trying too hard to be perfect or find perfection is impractical. It'll only cause you harm and stress. So beware, okay? The second day, holy day night of Christmas, this will be on the 26th, we have Libra, which is, keywords, I balance. This is known, by the way, traditionally as St. Stephen's Day. Stephen was martyred, and he demonstrated, despite his martyrdom, he demonstrated a great deal of faith and conviction. Some of Libra's primary keynotes have to do with balance, harmony, and nature, all aspects of nature. When Libra is allowed to express its gift fully, there will be no poverty, no disease, no pain on earth. So the gods, goddesses, creative beings of Libra are they hold the vision of that on the earth. It's almost like saying the 12 groups of these creative beings are serving God. But people have forgotten so much about the creative hierarchy, the celestial, the divine hierarchy. People barely believe in God anymore, let alone love the people that can recognize that every tree has an elemental serving it. To just get back to everything has life and love and divine presence in it. The apostle correlating to Libra is Jude, known as the minister of the beautiful. He was known for being honest and having a pure heart. He was actually the youngest brother of one apostle named James and Jesus. Jesus did have two brothers. He was the youngest, okay? Tender-hearted, childlike humility, very Libran. Patron saint, by the way, of faith and hope. But it's not just faith and hope, it's faith and hope in lost causes. So what's nice about that particular saint, that particular celestial being group, our particular Librans in the world and the Libra within all of us, it's about finding courage for people that are sort of sensitive. Let the Librans in us find courage to be able to speak and to be able to know that they have value instead of being so sensitive, so airy. So on the Libran day night, improve your ability to discern and make decisions with clarity in alignment with your higher good. Instead of, I don't know, practice making decisions, but go with the higher good. Practice greater conviction in your choices, even if it means persecution from some people or your own lower self. Treat yourself and others fairly and accept apologies instead of holding grudges. And beware issues related to kidneys, low back, adrenals, and endocrine glands. Third, 1/4 the way there. The holy day night on the 27th, Scorpio. Traditionally they use the keywords I create. I tend to say I delve. So think about that for Scorpio. I delve. The higher aspect of Scorpio is typically seen as an eagle or phoenix. This day is also known by the way of the day of St. John on the calendar, day of St. John. That's because he's also the apostle that happens to be corresponding with that particular day. John wrote the Gospel of John, which is the mystical of the four Gospels, because he's deeper, Scorpio, I delve. And he also wrote Revelation, of course. You get an aneurysm. You can have an aneurysm trying to read Revelation. But that's like, John going, I delve. Well, he did. But one of the gifts, because you're symbol Scorpios and the Scorpio in all of us, and on that day, even if you're not a Scorpio, on that day, practice the traits. The Scorpio, the eagle, the phoenix rises to get a bird's eye view of things. So Scorpios can see more clearly if they're not the serpent aspect of Scorpio. So the cosmic pattern for this sign is related to the transmutation of matter into spirit, which is because you're going to say, it's time I'm willing to set aside my lower self for my greater self. It's really that simple. It's not as simple to push through and do it, but so the apostle, for Scorpio is obviously John, the beloved he's called. John's emblem, by the way, was a serpent in a chalice. And the chalice represents that Christ self, the chalice, the grail, and then the serpent inside of that, So here I am, the chalice in the making, but inside, you still got that serpent side, Scorpio. But you guys can see how these things match the signs, right? No coincidences in this. So when you get to Scorpio day night, practice transforming personal lower human urges, the way Buddha advised, the way Moses pulled it off. It's a matter of being a master above all these, human parts of ourselves. Be aware also of mood swings and instead remain as centered as possible, especially all of us on that day, which is the 27th. Be aware. Do soul searching to find and release any and all issues and grievances, knowing that the spiritual heights can't be reached while we're holding the weight of resentments. What's the gift of Scorpio? They rise above and see things. Well, but I'm flapping and I can't get anywhere because you have all these anchors of resentment. Release those and you'll find it's organic. When you don't have the weight, you rise. It just starts happening. Be aware, though. Bring everything, including the darkest secrets, to the light. And beware of issues related to the sexual organs and the colon during that day, during that month. The fourth holy day night, Sagittarius, their keywords, I perceive. This is the day, historically, it's believed, the day where Herod ordered the murder of all the newborn children. So the role of Sagittarius involves holding space for the golden aura of the supreme light of the world. Sagittarians bid us not merely to look towards the higher, like the Sag emblem, but to become that thing you're aiming towards. Never forget that. The apostle corresponding is Philip. Now the name Philip, like Alexander the Great's father, was Philip. And he was known for having lots and lots of horses. They bred horses and it became part of their military. But the name Philip means a friend of horses. But Philip is the Sagittarian. Half horse, half man. Philip was dense, traditional, and intellectual, but he learned to aim for truth beyond his own perceptions. And so he loved, eventually when he basically awoke, to his real self, he loved teaching the word of Christ. All right. And when it comes to the Sagittarian day-night, focus your mind, the arrow, on the grand plan rather than the temporary setbacks like here these children were murdered. And you, Sagittarian, are being told something happens in your life or around you. Take a deep breath and get your focus back to where you're supposed to be going. Bounce back. Even if the stuff's dramatic and heavy, as soon as you can, bounce back. Beware of hurtful comments and negative thoughts that can detour your heart's desire. All right? And devour your inspirations, so stay steady. Remind yourself there are no losses. Remember to relax, keep things light, Sagittarians, and remember to laugh at things, not at people. Beware issues with your kundalini during that day and that month, and with any blocks along the spine, your hips, thighs, liver. Beware this particular area. All right? The fifth holy day night, December 29th, Capricorn. Some of the ancients referred to Capricorn, the sign, as the gate of the gods, because it was believed that if we were evolved enough to walk through that particular gate found in that constellation, which means leaving useless things behind, by the way, we could achieve anything. This is symbolized by the sign being the one that ends the calendar year and starts the next. Capricorn's the sign of the world avatars and a specific group of angels that hold a vision of what the new world will look like when the Christ Spirit is brought to earth again. On this night, all of humanity will hear the song. Not just some people, all humanity will hear a song. When that way of, the path through Capricorn is achieved, peace on earth and goodwill to all. The apostle corresponding to Capricorn is Judas Iscariot. Capricorn's planet, Saturn, Satan. Now, it's not that we want to say, oh, that guy. Oh, and I'm a Capricorn. Oh, my God, Michael put me down. No. No. Saturn is teaching us the hard way what we refuse to learn the easy way. That's all. I mean, Saturn's just like, oh, really? Learning it that way didn't work for you, huh? I have some ideas. So it's all appropriate. Capricorns, ironically, they often struggle with addiction. And with addiction can come a lot of deception. So here's, I think, a funny story. Judas is sitting there, and you see, if you look, you see pictures at the Last Supper, you see him holding a bag of money. Da Vinci did, right? That's not an accident. So you have Judas sitting there holding a bag of money. Well, at the Last Supper, Judas is sitting with a bag of money that he was paid to betray Jesus. Jesus says, it hurts me to say this, but tonight one of you is going to betray me. And he's like, who's it going to be? That's the deception that goes with addiction. So beware the Capricorn self. Cleanse yourself and all your addictions on this day and month, and the lower nature as much as possible. In so doing, you'll reach the heights of a new life. Remember, instead of being stubborn enough to try to do things on your own, learn instead to call on divine power to overcome personal flaws. That's all Judas needed to do. He's an equal brother to all. But he did decide what he thought needed to happen. I want Jesus to speak to the Sanhedrin so he can free the Jews. And that's not what he was there for. He was there to free everyone. So assume the best instead of the worst in people. Beware of issues with bones, teeth, joints, and knees. The sixth holy day and night, about halfway through now, is Aquarius. December 30th, it's commemorated. Aquarius, which keywords are? I know. You might even know Aquarians that say that. I had a relative, and they would constantly go, Michael, I know. And I'd go, you know what? I just know. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, Aquarian. I try not to say too much, but it was pretty funny. The sign is connected with King David. Not the apostle, we're not there yet, but it's associated with King David. The version of a human king, he's just as much a version of a human king as Jesus was a spiritual king. Very balanced Aquarian man. And what he was respected for most of all was his humility and his love for God. Aquarius holds a group of creative lords that hold a cosmic pattern in their consciousness that embodies a healed image of the Father aspect of God and the Father in all of us, the male. Their focus also maintains an image of true brotherhood for all. Our job is to make this all-inclusive by pouring our unconditional love out to everyone. That's the real Aquarian in us. Aquarius is also the sign that holds a frequency, it's commonly believed by mystics, a frequency closest to the abode of the angels. So the Aquarian constellation, very high vibration. The apostle, James the Just, or he was also called James the Less. He was the brother, so there was Jesus, there was James, there's a couple Jameses, but this is Jesus' brother, James, and then Jude. So there were 3 male siblings in that family. He was a pious Jew, studied in scriptures, and a rigorous observer of the law. He was also a great teacher and speaker. He was well known for purity of character and his commitment to selfless service. The Aquarian day, night, beware, watch, tune into, discovering how to be a more balanced God-goddess. Forget this thing about one side only. Time for the goddess, it's time for spirit. And halfway home to spirit, you have to become not just a god or goddess, but a balanced version of the male, female, the god and goddess within. Try not to forget that. It's like a blend of Jesus, and David, or Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. It's the elder goddess and the youthful goddess, the elder god, the youthful god, as well as the opposite gender. Move beyond thinking that you know everything. I know. Maintain your interdependence, but be flexible and practice thinking as a we, making choices that consider the needs and opinions of everyone. That's totally Aquarian. Beware issues related to legs, including ankles, shins, calves, everything, as well as your circulation. All right. The 7th day night, Pisces, is I perceive. Now, Pisces, this day is literally the end of December and in our calendar year, and being the end of the 12 signs of the zodiac, making the sign clearly about endings and the preparation for new beginnings. The sign of Pisces shows 2 fish swimming in opposite directions. One swim towards the development of a higher nature, one towards the lower. It's they call it the sink and swim sign. You can rise, you can fall. And all the signs have their version of 2 halves. All right, the divine beings that correlate with Pisces hold the ideal vision of peace and oneness into all creation. In other words, Pisces thins veils of illusion between reality and this earth plane, heaven and earth. So it's really beautiful. The Piscean energy is all about thinning the veil, which is why Pisces can be so intuitive, so psychic. Pisces marks the end of the past and the start of a new life. The apostle connecting with Pisces is Andrew. Andrew was he was the brother of Peter, the radical, except Andrew was kind of mellow. It's kind of funny because Peter's Pisces, he's Aries, and his brother's a Pisces. That would have been an interesting family to watch. Anyway, Andrew was trustworthy and humble in character, which comes in handy when you want to bow the ego so you can rise to the Christ self. And Aries or Peter was intense, but his brother was more passive. Andrew was the fisherman. Literally, he was a fisherman who drank from living waters of Christ. On the Piscean day night, remember this, go with the flow of life, but also practice moving through the early clumsy stages when you develop new beliefs. Make a choice to swim in the direction of spirit rather than materiality. Be practical about extending trust, otherwise you'll end up being a victim or martyr. Embrace your intuition and creativity. Walk from old school beliefs into new school beliefs, and beware issues related to feet, toes, and lymphatic system. The 8th holy day night, Aries, keywords, I am. This literally falls on New Year's Day. It's therefore the day of new beginnings, especially with Aries being the first of the 12 signs of the zodiac. This is also the day when Jesus was baptized and circumcised, as well as the day when his name was announced. So that's, who are you? I am. You see, it's like this, you're even though you're not naming yourself, you are spiritually, and you are who. So that day would be auspicious for you or I to say, I'm going to step into a new self. All right. Now, the apostle that correlates with Aries is Peter, as I said. Leader, head of the apostles. Peter was rash, vibrant, fiery. He's seen to be the founder of this new church that became the Catholic Church, they say anyway. He was often too impulsive. He's the guy who, when they came and arrested Jesus, picture this. 12 signs of the zodiac and Jesus. 12 signs of the zodiac and Jesus. We're here to arrest Jesus. Knife cuts off the ear of one of the guys that have come to arrest. I mean, that's an Aries. Oh, maybe I should have thought about that first. It's like, Aries goes head first, man, and then goes, wait. Shoot first, ask questions later. See, some of you guys are already going, dude, that's totally you. Aries, pursue new beginnings, but in the form of what's guided by God. You still be a leader. But like the Apostle Peter, hey, I'm a leader. Cut, do this, do that. And then, wait, you guide me. I can still be a leader. There's nothing wrong with it's not humiliating to be a leader that's inspired by God because you're one with God. That lifts you higher. That's higher than being a human who in their own little world thinks of themselves as a leader. This one's filled with, with God. Like, wow, like I have the real power of creation behind me and can lead into a new world. So just be careful not to jump in head first is the point. Use your fire to cleanse obstacles and to light the way for yourself and others. Don't leap away from everybody, but hey, here, let's try this. Shine some light. Show that you can be guided. Shine some light. That's a good way to lead and inspire people. Watch for how your temper and aggressions can become offensive, and beware issues related to the head. And Taurus. All right, the next 3 nights, by the way, are going to commemorate the 3 wise men, synchronistically. So this is going to be, the Taurian represents Melchior. He's the one who brought gold. Taurus, right? Gold. So they're honoring Jesus as a king when they bring gold. There's a symbolism to that. Taurus is the home of creative lords that presides over cosmic archetypes in the earth plane. Love is the primary force that continually pours out upon our planet. The apostle correlating to Taurus is Matthew. Matthew was the extreme, because we're talking about the apostles had the extreme side of these signs before changing. So he was, dishonest. He was greedy. He loved the finer things of life, which is fine, but he was caught up in them. Nobody liked him. Typically, he's symbolizing a tax collector. People like to project their stuff onto people that help you stay grounded. That's what part of that's about. Oh, I just hate people that make me keep my checkbook in order, or, people that take taxes. Well, part of their purpose is to keep you grounded. So the more ungrounded you'd like to be, the more you're going to be triggered by people like this anyway. So anyway, he's a Taurian. He was set in his ways, but the Taurus, the bull, is like, I'm not moving. But when you get the bull moving, it's a force to be reckoned with. And that became Matthew. He writes a gospel. He becomes a great teacher. It's a beautiful story and scene about Peter, because Peter's like, I hate everybody. He's not even old and he's already grumpy. He's like, just this grumpy old guy kind of an attitude, but he's like angry. And, he goes to listen begrudgingly to Jesus, and he's like, whatever. And his brother, the Pisces, or the Matthew, I should be saying, that Matthew's going, come on, brother, just relax. We're a little bit different. I'm a Pisces, you're an Aries, but let's try to give this guy a shot. So Peter listens. He goes, wow, this is something, but I'm still suspicious. Head first, I'm going to get my head in the way. Well, there's a scene in this where Jesus says, okay, Matthew, I want you to join us too. And Peter's like, oh no, because I hate this guy. I work hard for every dime, and this guy steals from us, so I don't like him. So Jesus says, that's perfect. So I want both of you to come and join, and let's have dinner. Just perfect to push buttons. But when they come walking in and they sit, they overhear Jesus telling a story. He's sitting with, not in a synagogue or a sanctuary of some kind. He's sitting in a kind of a person's home, and the room's filled with prostitutes and drinkers and whatever. Just everybody's stoned, and they invited Jesus to come and chat. You know, Jesus didn't say, oh no, man, that'll make my auras and chakras spin backwards. He's like, damn right. Absolutely. It's always more fun to go and talk to prostitutes and, drinkers than it is priests. So he goes and he's sharing some stories with them. And he decides to tell a parable that was perfect for how, let's just say prodigal son. And how God loves everybody and we all make mistakes. And Peter's standing there overhearing this and his soul is melting and realizing he's got my number. And he's talking to me about my hatred for Matthew. And it's a really beautiful thing because the two of them embrace. And that's called a holy relationship. That's the whole point of being on this planet. You'll never ascend without holy relationships. And those two bickering was more important than what sign they were or that they were brothers, sibling stuff. Forget it. How do we find a way to get you to love each other? That's the key. So, with the Taurian day-night, release your attachment to material things, let go of limiting beliefs around abundance, and learn to manifest abundance, like manifesting gold out of thin air. Don't grab abundance and greed around it. Just manifest it. Be practical and responsible, but trust God to be your supplier. Practice going with the flow and adapt to change. Tame the bull and harness the energy for good. Beware issues related neck to neck and throat. The 10th day and night, 2 more to go after this, is Gemini, I think. Now this one I think is so obvious. It's so beautiful. Which apostle? Gemini. Maybe Thomas? Doubting Thomas, the twin, he's called. So, the next of the 3 wise men, though, because this is 3 wise men being noted in these 3 right now, is Caspar. And he's the one that brought frankincense, honoring Jesus as a priest. Remember, Melchior brought gold to honor him as a king, which is honoring you as a king. Gold symbolizes that as us. The frankincense, I'm not just a human king, materially speaking, the one with prosperity and so on. I am also a mystic, a priest, and that's what this frankincense meant. Frankincense also symbolizes duality in that it melts into a liquid like resin, yet its essence rises to the heavens as a smoke. That's why we ordered that, the really pure franken myrrh oil that she's got this week, Rebecca in the bookstore. The gift of frankincense was acknowledging Jesus' ability to transform the material world, while also opening the doorway to the highest heaven. The creative spirits, these lords of Gemini, hold a vision of earth as being a place of peace that surpasses understanding. Ironically, the Gemini that once was at war eventually becomes a model of poise, unmoved by stuff of this world. So the warring twin goes, wait, bing, finds center. The point of being a sign is not to stay the sign. The point of being a sign is to rise to the higher aspect of a sign, then to become the higher aspect of all the signs, then to wear them all like a crown, which is why you see the tarot card of the Divine Mother wearing a crown of 12 stars. It means my consciousness holds all of these as tools in my consciousness. In other words, I wear them as a crown. I own them. The apostle is, of course, Thomas. A true Gemini, his doubts got the best of him, but once he set aside his mental war between doubt and faith, Thomas went on to write one of the most beautiful gospels, although not included in the Bible. It's one of the most beautiful gospels of all. And he also was known to work many miracles with the use of laying on of hands. So the Gemini day-night, commit to healing and releasing all forms of duality, the warring twins, as we call it in astrology towards Gemini, and the inner warring between your head and heart, for that matter, the male, female, the ego and soul. Practice making healthier decisions and commitments. Be more decisive and watch for moments where doubt causes you to overthink things, thus delaying action. Beware of issues related to the nervous system. See, again, the overthinking, it overstimulates the nervous system, as well as your shoulders, arms, and hands, which is ironic because he becomes a major faith healer with laying on of hands. All right, 2 more to go. The holy day-night, January 4th, Cancer. I feel. The last of the three wise men as well, Balthazar, who brought myrrh, which is an oil that's both valuable but bitter. And since myrrh was used to anoint dead bodies, which is why Mary Magdalene came in and anointed Jesus' feet before his crucifixion, this gift at the birth of Jesus was foretelling the bitter experience, because it can be a bitter herb, a bitter resin. So it's a bitter experience of his crucifixion and death. So she was knowing on some level what's coming. Anoints his feet, which in itself was symbolic, but what she used to do so, myrrh. The Cancerian frequency is known as a month of dedication. For the Cancerian month is an auspicious time for devotion to our quest for reaching a light never seen on land or sea. Cancerian, right? The apostle that correlates with the sign Cancer is James the Elder. He's the brother of John the Beloved. There were a few sets of brothers in the apostles, people don't realize. His emblem in his crest was actually a clamshell. Cancer. James was religious, brave, and strong-willed. As a Cancerian, he tended to try to get everyone to get along. Why can't we all just get along, including the Christians and Jews? He's trying to bridge and get people to get along. On the Cancerian day night of Christmas, get your priorities straight by recognizing the bitter truth that God has to be of primary importance. We're talking family as a theme, but make God your primary, not your human family. Your spiritual family and God should come first. Face the bitter truth, myrrh, that some people will not appreciate your commitment to spirit. Now those who do the will of God are your family. It's just one of these things. You start feeling yourself going, it'll start with friends that want to be the same old way. Hey, let's just keep getting stoned. We're like 95, really? I mean, couldn't we come up with something else to do? Not that I know of. I've only seen that. I saw it in a movie. Fine, I did it, but I didn't inhale. Okay, so face the bitter truth. People are not going to dig it when you say, you know what? Friends first, but family, it happens with family too. That you just start a different way of thinking. You go and hang out with family and they're still talking, maybe some families, judgment or just shallow stuff. Hey, did you hear in the news? And you're like, la 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 la. They don't want you to do that. And that's when you're going through that Cancerian vibe, dealing with family, prioritizing. Recognize the importance of shifting from loyalty as a human mother, because it's a very mothering sign, to being a mother for all. Know that you're loved and appreciated instead of getting codependent Cancerians. Know that you are loved and appreciated and refrain from allowing doubt and pessimism about that to creep in, to undermine it. Beware of issues related to chest, the heart chakra, man, and the stomach. Last but not least, it closes with Leo. I will. This day is also known traditionally as Simeon's Day. Simeon's the man who, when Jesus was brought to the temple, he cried out, "All is fulfilled. Now I behold the one who is the bearer of the sun." Sun, Leo. This day symbolizes the constellation of Leo, the lion, and the king and queen of the universe. The vision held by the creative spirits of Leo, those lords of Leo, is that the earth be filled with warmth and love and be guided by the Spirit of Christ. And all of our decisions and actions should be motivated only by that source. The apostle that correlates is Simon, which is interesting, Simeon's Day. It's Simon. He was called Simon the Zealot, but he wasn't part of the political zealot group. He was just zealous. He's a Leo. So he was zealous and enthusiastic about teaching the Word of God. He resonated, though, that sun, that Leo energy, that fire energy. He loved those regions. So instead of going to, Britain to teach, like some of the apostles and later disciples, he went to Persia and Egypt. That's where he spent most of his time teaching. On the day night of Leo, recognize that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Meaning that we are only a great king, queen, god, goddess, as much as we're willing to wear the consciousness of God as our crown. The Leo, if you don't know astrology much, or even if you think you do, Leo, everybody thinks Leo's about, I'm the forerunner. Leo is actually often the second guy, not the front runner, because they're supposed to be learning to wear the crown of Christ or God as their guide rather than themselves. Is that making sense? All right. Except that we can only lead as successfully as we're willing to follow God. Stand straight instead of standing out. Leos, stand straight instead of standing out. Practice allowing your warmth and generosity to lighten the lives of others. Beware of issues related to the heart, though, the spine and the upper back. So that's a synopsis of the 12 days, the 12 nights. That's a synopsis of what we're going to go through for 12 months. The more consciousness you put into this, today I'm going to get my Taurian self together. Today I'm going to get my Scorpion self together. Those are opposing signs, they say. You know, the more I get that together, the more peace I start to, generate in my heart. The more I find the balanced, version of, let's say, the Aquarian or the Libran or whatever sign. I want to be not hypersensitive. I want to have a bit of the backbone that this apostle needed. So turning all these into the best version of learning and becoming possible. So we do our best to align. We want to concentrate on this. Take a little note here and there for each day, for the 12 days, because you'll find today it was I lost my cool a lot. Not a problem. This is not where you're graded and found bad. This is, okay, we hear you. You got angry, you lost your cool. Now just make a note, because when that month comes around, the purpose of this test would be prepared and walk through it and change it. What you did or didn't do in one day, you'll now have 30. So 30 times the opportunities to work with this differently. So it's wise to live as consciously as possible through these 12 days, nights. Now, you might think this is a bit abstract, so just think of it as maybe a curious talk that you heard. But you'll find that a lot of people in this room and online would swear to it now. Once they heard me talk about it, they went, this is remarkable. Not only as a foretelling, like a forecast, but it becomes a remarkable tool for me to step up and implement. These solar rays are going to come in more intensely for 12 days, not buffered. Bring it on. And then one will come through Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and so on and so on. And boom, each one per day. How did I do with those? Let's find out. And the next year. Humans love to not be responsible, not walk the way a mystic would walk in this fashion, like I'm describing, where you step in and participate in your life and development. Humans love that. And then when the year comes, they just complain. They call it prayer. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why can't you fix it? Hey, God. And God's like, I'm not listening. Because, and people, I know it sounds sacrilegious to think, God doesn't hear prayer. That's why. Because God will only say, I love you, come home. And we're doing all things contrary to that. Stepping up. It's in a sense, it's fun to participate in our life and path. It's fun to be more of a participant than a victim. But being a participant means I can change any of it. The victim, the very definition would be you're not going to change it. You're going to stay stuck in pain, hurt, limited, and there's no sign that should be seen as wrong or bad at all. It's not even allowed. What sign, do you have an issue with? Oh, well, Aries, they're so intense. Yeah. And you'll need that when you want to start a new year. What do you want? Your inner Libran to start your new year? You're kidding me. Well, I don't know. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I've always said when the car manufacturer tried to create a new car called the Libran, they had to get recalled because when you tried to steer them one direction, they went the other. It's like, the new Ford Pisces did the same thing. You steer one way, they go the other. So it's all passive-aggressive stuff. But anyway, you don't want that sign starting. You want that sign when it's time to say, wait a minute, is everything feeling balanced and beautiful? Do I have harmony? Because the Aries isn't going to go, let's check into harmony. Let me check inside and just see if that feels harmony. They've already gone. Hey, Aries, I have an idea. What do you think about, where'd they go? They dove in. Librans are still, checking it out. The Geminis are still doubting it, and so on. So please consider this as an invitation to make major leaps in terms of your growth. Major leaps and bounds, just quantum leaps forward in terms of the growth. All right? And you're welcome to join us for our course that we're going to do. First Saturday of every month throughout the next coming year. All righty? Thank you. Are you doing a candle lighting today, are you? Okay. Thank you. So we're going to invite everybody into a brief meditation. Folks online, if you don't already, you can just step aside and grab a candle. But if you don't have one, don't worry about it. Just imagine it. It's okay. All right. So the chaplains are going to help you light the candles. Please keep them steady and vertical. You don't want to tilt them. They'll pour wax. And also you don't want them near your hair. Especially if you do a lot of hair product, people. Some people do. We're going to light the candles. Please light the candle to the person next to you. While maintaining social distancing. I don't know about these people. This planet. Yeah. Do you have more than one lighter?
Good. No. It only takes one.
There can be only one. Okay, while they're lighting the candles, pay attention to your candle and keep that lit. But can anyone share what you heard or learned so far from today that you think might make a difference in your life? Did you hear something about your sign you didn't know? Did you hear something affirming about the partner sign that you didn't know and might make a difference? Okay? If anybody wants to share, you can while they're lighting the candles. All right? Did the information make sense incidentally?
Yes.
Nice. Now be honest. How many of you think you're going to give this a try, the attention to the next 12 days, nights? Be honest. A good number of you. Good. Right on. You'll see. It makes a difference.
Okay, I think I learned, while I was listening, the sun slowed
Shh.
down. I felt like I could have this end of the 12 days right now, but I didn't feel easy about it.
Oh.
Now I'm understanding why.
Oh, nice.
The sun's slowing down and taking it easy.
Wow.
12 more days to
Right.
relax and
You were feeling like an end of the year. Now you're going, there's 12 more days to be had here. Crucial days. Yes?
One of the things, there were some new things tonight, so that was great, because I do this every year, and I keep journal of what happened that day, and then later I go back to the month,
Right.
especially significant months when things happen, and I can see. I
Right.
can literally see the correlations, and this has been year after year
Wow.
for like 6 years.
Right. Nice. Yeah, she's been following it several years. Yes, in the back.
I had not heard before about the 12,
Days and nights of Christmas.
no, on the Empresses, on the Great Mother's Crown.
Oh.
And I do a lot of work in mysticism,
Oh.
tarot, and
Yeah.
that was a missing piece for me.
Beautiful, honey. Thank you. A piece that specific, the mother with the crown.
Right.
It means I'm the mother of the universe. And everybody's got to get to that place. Instead of, I'm a Virgo and that causes me to do this. No, you do this and it causes you to be a Virgo. The planets do not control you. They're just reflecting about you. They're just telling you about yourself. They've never been meant to be fatalistic. And the tarot cards and the symbolism are rooted in very deep mystical traditions, from Kabbalah to numerology to astrology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's the card of this beautiful goddess with her foot on the moon. That's symbolic. It means I'm in control of my emotions. There are all these little bits. Buddha with one hand up, one hand down. You know, it's heaven and earth all right here. Heaven and earth is all right here. One hand pointing up, one pointing down. He's talking about embodying that, what most people find as a collision of two contradictory forces, yin and yang. No, I'm embodying these. I'm embracing these. This is a state of balance of these. All right, anyone else? All right. Let's please take a moment to center and breathe. Again, be aware of your surroundings. Make sure your candle is sitting on its own, not in your clothing or anything else. I know it sounds like a silly thing to address, but just make sure everything's safe. Take a moment, centered breathing. We inhale, we hear the words I am, and on the exhale, the word relaxed. Or you could do I am on the inhale, at peace on the exhale. A few times. It's not casual. You're affirming it. It's a fact. I am commanding peace. I am at peace. Take a moment. Open your eyes. Just look at your candle for a moment. Just note some things that come to you on your own, but note things like this. This candle, it represents the light of God, the fire of protection and warmth, purity, clarity. What does it represent? Light, God. This light, just like the one you're holding, is burning in the center of your mind, but not seen until we develop enough meditation, prayer, inspiration. But it's burning inside. Look at it. You remember what it looks like. Remember what it represents and feels like. And only when you're ready to own that light, being inside your own mind, then you take a moment. You'll open your mask gently, blow out your candle, and close your eyes and see the light inside. Only when you believe you're willing to accept that. Only when you're ready. Dare I believe? Eyes closed. Can I see that? Can I still see that in my mind? Can that light be my third eye? See it inside. When you're ready, blow out the candle and start to see it inside instead of outside. Dare I say it? Can I really believe it? Can I really be pure light? And then see it. Hold that thought for a moment. Don't hear what Jesus said 2,000 years ago. Hear yourself saying, I am the light of the world. And where there is darkness, I will be the light. I will be the light to the world. I will be the light to others. This is all being a good mother, a good father, a sponsor. The light takes those forms. It's a miracle worker. It's a teacher of God. A healer, a counselor. It's all of those things taking whatever form. I am the light of the world. See that light in your mind. Any thoughts to the contrary, any hesitation, you have the right to say, Be still and know I am God. And just imagine all thoughts to the contrary. They're just ego doubts. No warring twins. No Piscean fish also swimming downward. No reptilian part of the Scorpio. No, God is. I am. We are. And just see it and believe it. Everything else falls away. All I'm seeing is that candlelight in my mind. Wow. I am the light of the world. And the last question, will I use my light to burn others or to bring them comfort and warmth? Guidance, comfort, warmth. Just ask yourself that question, because we get to choose. And we close with this thought. Imagine everybody in this room and watching online right now is meditating that there's a light in the center of their head. Imagine as well that each of those is like one of the lights on a Christmas tree. Each of us a bulb of light. The Christmas tree is the world. The more of us that become light, the Christmas tree itself, the world eventually disappears and we're nothing but light. And we are then at the will of God again. Perfect peace, love, joy. And if there's a world we would like to imagine into being, co-creating it with God, it would be one of glory and joy. There will be no one taking from another. There will be no loss. There's no such thing in God. So this light that I'm owning now, I am a light on the tree. And I can remind other lights that are sitting there that have forgotten that they can glow like I. By being that light, they start to say, you know what? I would like to be that. I'd like to feel that way. I wish I could, whatever it is they witness you doing. And what you're doing is, as much as possible, light work. We still slip. We have days that we don't feel very light. It's okay. Then lay down. Just untwist the bulb a little and go to sleep. But do it in the safest, healthiest way, by self-nurturance, warm baths, get a little rest. Just retire today from being a light worker and rest. Let the bulb cool off a little. But try to come back as soon as possible so that you're making the difference that brings us all home. And so it is. So we give thanks, presence of God. In a world so afraid, so disturbed, I choose to be a light unto the world, not of my lower self-accord, but the part of me that God has ordained since the beginning of time. I am made in God's image, therefore I vow to start acting like it. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Because wherever we are, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. God bless you all. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. We'll see you. Bye-bye.